Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. Let's first talk about President Trump, former President Donald Trump, how he appeared in court this morning, and his lawyers are arguing to drop the classified docs charge that's against the president, saying that the president definitely had the right to withhold documents the way he did. We'll bring you up on the latest on that. Also, are Black conservatives for Black people? We're looking at gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson, the Republican out of North Carolina that has gotten the endorsement of Donald Trump. How this Black man, even though he's saying controversial remarks, are saying, you know what, Black folks are saying he is on to something, or is he not? We'll talk a little bit about this with Mr. Douglas Wilson and a political consultant around this issue. Later on, we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders having a hearing to talk about his proposed bill of changing the work week from 5 days down to 4. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Folks, we got to talk about that and a whole lot more. Stay with us. It's all happening in today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we are streaming live on our home platform of Black Star Network. So just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. Follow us on social media under Black Star Network. And we ask for just a little something to put in the bucket, folks, as we have donations. We're looking for you to donate and to be an investor and stakeholder in this process. So please go to blackstarnetwork.com today, show your love and support, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Folks, we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media platform. You can find us right now on his Facebook page as well as his YouTube channel. And big shout out to all of the culture crew members that are on all of these platforms, from the X platform, there it is, on the X platform, on Facebook, on YouTube, man. Oh, man, y'all just keep coming out and showing us a lot of love. Let me see who's in here today. And Gwendolyn China, she's already getting the party started. She has put something in the bucket to support us here at Black Star Network. Gwendolyn, thank you so much, and welcome to the Bring the Phone fan club at a level 1 rate. We thank you. Let's give a little round of applause for Gwendolyn China there. Yeah, Gwendolyn. Yeah. Happy Thursday, Gwendolyn. Who I see? We got Pastor Damon Blissettis in the chat, Deidre Hall, the ABX girl, Real Brooklyn, Brian Christian, Annie. I see you. I don't want to mispronounce your name, Annie, but I think it's Zumara, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I didn't tear it up real bad. But Annie, thank you and welcome to the chat. Pauline Hurt, Tommy, I see you. H. Renee Nelson, Arlene Starks, good afternoon to you as well. And folks, as you get into the chat here on YouTube and on Facebook, make sure y'all just hit that like button. Make sure you just throw off the algorithm and point them in the direction of Black Star Network. And we thank you so very much. Let's talk a little bit. I'm going to just throw this out there. We're going to take our first pause in a few moments. But let's talk a little bit about what's the latest is happening with former President Donald Trump. Now, we know that he is going to be the presumptive Republican nominee. He's pretty much going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. And as he is trying to get back into the White House, he's trying to get out of being held accountable for some of his actions. And this is in regards to the classified documents that he brought to him down to from when he left the White House in Washington and took down to Florida. And his lawyers are urging a federal judge to dismiss the criminal case accusing the former president of illegally retaining classified documents after he left the White House. I'm going to share this with you. Take a look at this, folks. This is coming from the AP News Center. And the dispute centers on the Trump team's interpretation of the Presidential Records Act, which they say gave him the authority to designate the documents as personal and maintain possession of them after his presidency. Now, Special Counsel Jack Smith's team, by contrast, says The files Trump is charged with possessing are presidential records, not personal ones, and that the statute does not apply to classified and top secret documents like those kept at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. The Presidential Records Act does not exempt Trump from the criminal law, entitle him to unilaterally declare highly classified presidential records to be personal records, or shield him from criminal investigations, let alone allow him to obstruct a federal investigation with impunity, according to prosecutors who wrote in a court filing last week. So we will see. This is interesting. This is very interesting to see if how the DOJ is going to move forward, how the federal court is going to move forward on that. And if you remember, he had those documents stored in like a place, like a closet or something on his Mar-a-Lago resort land, and it was a lot of back and forth with trying to retrieve those documents from the Presidential Archive Center, and others were trying to do this for over a year, and he would not let them get any of these files. It wasn't until they had the court orders and they pretty much stormed his property down Mar-a-Lago to retrieve those documents, but it was over a year that they had to do so. And now his lawyers are arguing to dismiss the case. And this is very interesting because of the timing of it. And, this is one of the many cases one of the many hearings, rather, that he's going to have to appear in as a result of some of his actions that he did while he left office, along with the January 6th situation, along with the election interference situation. Now you got these classified docs. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let me get your take on this. This is a nothing burger, as my sister Suzette Speaks says. Is this a nothing burger, or is this something that might catch a little momentum, and it might even thwart the former president from getting to the White House? But what's your take on this as we kind of follow this story? Join me in the conversation. Post your comments on you, Brother Roland's YouTube channel, or in the chat room, or on the Facebook page, and we would love to hear what you have to say. And stay with us. We're just getting started here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat to the Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
hatred on the streets. A horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We are just getting the show started and just bringing you up to speed on the fact that former President Donald Trump was in court today as his lawyers argue over whether to dismiss his classified documents case. Y'all remember this case, right? This is one of four major cases that are against the former president. He's accused of intentionally holding on to some of the nation's most sensitive documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate, according to the reports, only returning a fraction of them upon demand by the National Archives. And y'all remember, we've had conversations about this. Now, according to the prosecutor, they have urged his lawyer to hide records and to lie to the FBI by saying he no longer was in possession of them and enlisted staff to delete surveillance footage that would show boxes of documents being moved around the property. So we know that there was something happening, and now his lawyers are asking to just have the federal court system to dismiss the charges around this situation. Do you think this is going to play anything? You think this is going to matter to anybody, to the voters that are, to the Republicans, to the Democrats? Will this matter? Frankie, you talking to somebody. Welcome to the chat, Frankie. But do you all think this is going to matter? Is this going to be a game changer? Because, when I look at the situations or all of these issues with former President Trump, I wonder, I'm like, and I think a lot of us are probably in this way. We're like, this guy is never going to be held accountable for anything, right? Like, with all that he has done, all the issues that he has brought, his administration and his personal associates, his business dealings, and all of these things, and it just seems like nothing is truly sticking. They have a little name for him, a nickname. Teflon Don, because nothing sticks to him. Arlene, you checked in and you said, as Grandma said, he's a liar and the truth is not in him. Never has been, never will be. Wow. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to. Kenyatta, thank you. So let me see first. Arlene, thank you for posting that. Then Kenyatta, you said, nope, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. And I think that's the sad part about this. Like, even though we know that it comes down to Biden and Trump, I think the sad part about it is the quality of the candidate when we look at Donald Trump. Like, now he's down to 88 and charges, and he got all these indictments. It's just the quality. And I always ask myself, what do other countries around the world see when they look at America? And how this controversy, these dramas play out in the national news and the global news. I always wonder. Frankie, you say bring something for him to be accountable for. I mean, he's pretty accountable for a number of things, Frankie. Bring something for him to be accountable for. Wow. He's accountable for a number of things. Let's say January 6th. Let's say election interference down in the state of Georgia. Let's say the fact that he kept these documents for way longer and then he tried to hide them. I mean, not sure what you're saying that he's not accountable for. Talk to me, frankly. Talk to me. Tiana, my sister, you said the fact that he uses the legal system to wiggle his way out of accountability makes our justice system look like a joke. And that's the part right there. That part, as they say, right, Tiana? It makes the justice system look like a joke. And we could talk about having hope and faith in the system. But hope and faith, you can't just be blind in your hope and blind in your faith, right? Without having some inkling that whatever you have hope in, you have faith in, it's going to actually do what you hope and believe it should do, right? And I think that with this type of system that we're in, this justice system or political system, hope and faith, it's okay, but it's not enough without people saying, you know what, we're going to hold people accountable, or we're going to enforce the law on this person and not be lenient for that person, and all of these things. Like, you have to, along with that hope and faith, and I hear you, Tiana, and I think so. But along with that hope and faith, it has to lead to something, because people need to feel like this system works. Because we can't talk about maintaining or upholding or sustaining democracy, and then we see these situations play out, especially for a presidential candidate. And like you said, Tiana, he just wiggles his way out, and then there's no real accountability. But let any one of us do the slightest, smallest infraction, and what happens? Boom, we get hit. We get the book thrown at us. Benny Hill, you said sad part is we have to live this stuff over and over and over and over again. We're about to do 8 years of this Trump Biden stuff. Won't ever have a real democracy. Farajii sounded like you giving up, kid. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. It's not about giving up. It's just simply about just looking at things the way they are right now and then saying, okay, how do we regroup? How do we figure out a different direction? It doesn't have to stay this way. We don't have to feel apathetic about getting involved or getting politically engaged. We don't have to feel hopeless. We don't have to feel faithless. We don't. We can choose. Now, there are some things that are happening on the federal level that, we only could do but so much, right? We can't force the courts to make better decisions. We can't force lawmakers to make better decisions. So there's only so much that we can do on that level, but on a state and local level, we can change systems. We can change systems on a federal level, but I was always taught in community organizing and social justice activism that you start where you are, right? You start in your own neighborhood, you start in your own city, your county, you start where you are. That's where the change starts. And then it creates a domino effect. So I'm not giving up, Benny. I'm not giving up. All right, let me get one more in here. Let me see. Official Sanika, thank you so much for checking in. You said, I have faith in a few things, just not in the government or American democracy. #levels. Yeah. The thing is, until we have a different alternative reality, then I think that we have to do some level of reform, right? But we can't leave, whether it's Black people or any people out there, without feeling supported, without feeling heard, without feeling like they are a part of a system that gives a damn about them. We just can't just say, oh, okay, well, I checked out of this system And then we don't have another system to check into. So we got to work on that. Just as much as we work hard on getting out of one system, we got to think about, okay, so I need to use the same energy to establish a new system to give us a different reality, an alternative reality. Not alternative facts, not a system built on alternative facts, but a different reality. So when I look at this situation, and we're going to see what the judgment is going to be, whether these charges are going to be dismissed, I truly doubt it. But we have to come to some understanding and make a decision within ourselves as constituents that regardless of whether the system is doing right by us, that we will choose to do right by ourselves, but not staying quiet. And I think that's the big part of this to keep in mind. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch. Let's talk a little bit more politics. Let's get out of Washington, make that travel down to North Carolina. We're going to talk about Black conservatism. More importantly, are Black conservatives for Black people? This is a big question, especially with the rise of gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson down in North Carolina. I'm going to be checking in with Mr. Douglas Wilson, who is a political consultant, to talk to him about this phenomenon that we're seeing and how it is attracting some Black folks, but at the same time, it's turning some Black folks off. And that will lead, if we are divided on certain things, it will be hard for us to move forward together. So we're going to have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for participating and joining us for the conversations. Folks, you can do so right now as you're streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media page. You can find us right now on Facebook as we're streaming there. We're also streaming on his YouTube channel page under Roland Martin. And big shout out to all of those who are watching us through the X platform as well. So all the crew members there, thank you so much. And join the conversation. This is like any other space on digital media where you are actually a part of the conversation. We raise up your thoughts and your questions as we have these discussions. And so I am very, very happy that each one of you are able to tune in, spend a little time with us, pay us a little attention, and we can have these discussions. All right, this discussion here is something that I've been wanting to have for a minute. This is around Black conservatives. Now, we're seeing that there are a number of Black voices within the Republican Party that are starting to come up, especially among Black men. And the latest phenomenon within the Black conservatism is Mark Robinson, who is the gubernatorial candidate out of North Carolina. And Mr. Robinson has positioned himself as being a viable alternative to everything that's woke and all of the stuff that we have been seeing. So here to talk to us about this idea of Black conservatives, are Black conservatives for Black people, is Douglas Wilson, who serves as the CEO of Alexander Wilson Consulting, which does political consulting work. Brother Douglas, welcome to the show. How are you, dear brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing? I know it's been some time since we last spoke.
It has been. It has been, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, brother. All right.
Good to see you as well.
Hey, brother Douglas, let's see. First and foremost, Mark Robinson, right? When we think of Black conservatives, you know, we think of like a Armstrong Williams, or when we think of that, you know, certain type of conservatives come to mind. But this Mark Robinson, this Republican candidate, he is a different type. And I want to post, I just want to share with you and with folks what one of the things that he has said some controversial things in his time, but this is just one of the things that he has said. Take a look at this, folks. Robinson has expressed skepticism about the Holocaust on Facebook. And while he would be North Carolina's first ever Black governor, he's been critical of the civil rights movement, saying integration caused Black people to abandon Black-owned businesses. He said, quote, "The civil rights movement destroyed hundreds of very well-run Black schools." He said during a 2018 podcast interview, they destroyed Black businesses across the nation. So I want to kind of talk about this level of rhetoric, because this stuff is coming up, especially as his campaign is gaining traction and momentum. What do you make of a man like a Mark Robinson, brother?
Well, you know, when you look at Black conservatives from the past, like a J.C. Watt or a Michael Steele, they always said they were conservatives because of Abraham Lincoln and because of the Civil War and because of what Republicans back then, you know, did to help free the slaves. I know there's a lot of discussion around that. But now what's happening is that Black conservatives are signing up for what MAGA is offering. And it is dangerous because in North Carolina, what you have is a state that is like 60% rural and like 40% urban. So Mark Robinson is a type of candidate that can juice up turnout in these rural areas amongst white conservatives to the point where he could, stop any bleeding he has in the urban areas and actually win. And that's the scary part about it. But with the things that he has said, like saying that the civil rights movement was like a communist movement and like Dr. King was a communist, I think the more that our people hear that in North Carolina, wherever you're in Charlotte, Raleigh, or wherever you are in Martin County, which is in Eastern North Carolina, you're going to know that this guy is just not for us. He's just not for our people.
How do we, and Donald Trump described him, I got to say it, but
MLK on steroids.
MLK on steroids. He says, as a matter of fact, you're better than Dr. King. He said that these are Donald Trump's words in endorsing Mark Robinson. But here's the thing, Brother Douglas, that my concern is that we see individuals like him who kind of says certain things that we may agree with, but then it's encroached with other stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Because some people would say, for example, going back to that civil rights movement conversation, like, oh, okay, if we were separated, our lives would have been boom, 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 boom. And it's like he kind of taps into the sentiment that a lot of black men and black women have that feel like, you know what, we need to have a voice, but then it's encroached with something else that takes away from the original intent. Do you think that he understands like this dynamic, like just playing on the sentiments and then also kind of throwing in the conservative talking points? Do you think that people, like black people in particular, really are attracted to him? Do you think he has an appeal among black Americans?
On the campaign trail, he does have somewhat of a charismatic aura about him that if you don't know his record or his rhetoric, you would say, oh, this is a cool brother right here. But once he starts to speak and says things that a lot of us in our community don't agree with, he may still pick up some black male vote, or I think he can pick up more black male vote than black women vote. But I don't think it's going to be in a 20, 30% or 40% pickup like that. Again, this guy, if he really wanted to talk about black issues, he needs to talk about the black economy, which is what Dr. King was working on before he got assassinated. He was working on trying to level the economic playing field. And we've been fighting this for the last 50, 60 years. He should be talking about that. But instead, he's saying that movement was garbage. He's saying Dr. King was a communist. It's almost like he doesn't understand his own blackness and the fact that he is black, and that's concerning. And I know that we need conservatives in the Republican Party. We need we need black people, in the Republican Party. But at some point, you have to say, is this party for me? Because what they're saying is against what we believe in.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking, Brother Douglas, when I think about black conservative, I think about like you have all of these different archetypes. You have a Tim Scott. You got a Mark Robinson, you got a Michael Steele. Three black men, very different view of what conservatism actually is and how it should be expressed, right? Very different views. And I'm wondering, is that by design? Do these men not talk to each other? Do these men, because if Michael Steele is saying, I want to be the conservative that Abraham Lincoln was, and then you have a Tim Scott who just completely ingratiates himself to Donald Trump, and then you have a Mark Robinson who says, oh, okay, it's like a very different picture. And some black people, particularly black men, might be able to say, you know what, I'm more in line with Michael Steele. But you're still under the Republican umbrella. You're still under the Republican umbrella. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the difference between those three or four men is that Michael Steele and J.C. Watts comes from the old school Republican Party of 20, 25 years ago, where a lot of this stuff was not being said. not only being said, there weren't policies being passed in conservative states to restrict voting, to ban books, to, you can go down the list. And now what you're seeing in this new age of conservatism is this, like I said earlier, it's all MAGA now. It's about who can be pissed off the most. It's going to be our way or the highway. It's not the same that it was 20 years ago. So the Black conservatives that were involved 25 years ago, they're way different than Black conservatives now, like a Tim Scott or like a Mark Robinson.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation with Brother Douglas Wilson as we talk a little bit about Black conservatism. Crew, I want to get your take on this. Post your comments as we're streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page and YouTube channel. What do you make? What's your answer to the question, are Black conservatives for Black people? That's the question we're posing today as we have this conversation. Would love to hear what you have to say. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause, to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, and we are having a conversation about Black conservatives, asking the question, are Black conservatives for Black people? Now, here joining me for the conversation is Brother Douglas Wilson, serves as the CEO of Alexander Wilson Consulting, that do political consulting work in the state of North Carolina and around the country. And we're talking about the candidate, the gubernatorial candidate, Mark Robinson. But folks, it doesn't stop here. It does not stop here. Now, Brother Douglas, I already know that you know. There is the Black Conservative Federation, which is the group of Black conservatives that on the Republican side of things, they actually held their event just a few weeks ago, where President Trump had addressed them in Columbia, South Carolina. And it was there where you heard probably some of the sound bites of President Trump talking about the polling came out and saying that Black people really like Trump. There must be a mistake. It was all of that stuff. But in that same, from that same federation, that same event, there are a number of Black conservatives, Brother Douglas, that are now creating voter outreach efforts to try to go into Black communities around the country, especially in what they call politically important states, to go into neighborhoods where Black people are, and to try to build their support and essentially get their support for President Trump. Now, you know, we talked about Mark Robinson, but and Tim Scott, but there's also Representative Wesley Hunt of Texas, Byron Donald of Florida. Of course, we know about Ben Carson. And then there, of course, is the Black Ohio-based pastor, Darrell Scott, who is, I guess we can just lump him as a Black conservative as well. That is kind of leading, Darrell Scott is actually leading the effort for voter outreach. So when Black conservatives come to our neighborhoods or into the state, what will that message look like from your vantage point, Brother Douglas? And how should we have a conversation about that message?
Well, I think their message is going to be very similar to the message that Trump tried to give us in 2016, the whole what the HE double hockey sticks you have to lose, right? And I think that's going to be their message that they're going to try to bring here into my state and here in North Carolina and other states. But they have to ask themselves a couple of questions, which is one, is why did the Republican Party close down outreach centers in Black and brown communities that they worked in getting in there? What does that tell you about how they feel about us? Secondly, do you really want to push a party that's trying to roll back achievements that our race has had over 50 years? Because let's not get it twisted. Our country has not been a democracy until 50 years ago. That's the truth right there. It's, you know, I mean, and I'm not being hyperbolic. If you look at the history, this country did not become a full democracy into the 1960s. That's one. Two, the Republican Party and a lot of the leadership in the Republican Party is trying to roll back a lot of the stuff that we worked so hard for, like affirmative action. So these brothers, I have to ask myself, why are you really doing this? Because when you look at the party that you are a part of and the platform and your nominee that has said that the reason, so many words, the reason why he's getting Black support is because he's up in court. What is that to say? And you guys just sat there and not saying you, I'm saying the brothers, and act like it was nothing. I mean, come on. You know how offensive that is? But I bet you if Biden or somebody else said that, oh man, it would have been all over the news. People would have been like, how could he? But you know, like, really, is that what we're trying to support here? So, I again going back to your initial question, I think that will be the push. The push will be, you know, you need to come vote Republican because, you know, Democrats are so big on, you know, LGBT issues, blah blah blah. You can hear all that rhetoric coming at them, and it's going to also, they'll probably present a toxic masculinity type message too that I can see coming out if and when these brothers go on the road.
IB Bach, you checked in, and welcome to the chat. IB, you said, why not? We don't have anything to lose. Why not? We don't have anything to lose. We do. No, we do have a lot to lose.
We have a lot to lose. We have a
We
lot to
have,
lose.
if you think that we don't have anything to lose, you're sadly mistaken. I'm sorry, IB, because we are fighting and we are advocating and we are pushing. There is still a lot to lose. We're not completely back in the, and even though we're taking some hits, whether it's from Roe v. Wade, whether it's affirmative action, those are big hits. But there's still things that are on the table that we're trying to get across. Diversity, equity, inclusion, the DEI conversations, and all of that stuff, right? So no, there are still a lot of things to lose. Let me just share this, and I'm going back to what you just said, Brother Douglas. Do you think that part of this is because, like in North Carolina, there are more rural areas, especially rural areas with Black people, that plays a role in the appeal in certain candidates like a Mark Robinson, or it plays a role in the appeal of how Black conservatives see Black folk? Because you got Black people in rural areas, and then you got Black people in urban areas. And one of our culture crew members talked about this, that there are two different realities for Black people. This is from ABX Girl, saying there are two different realities between different realities of life between those two areas. So how does the Democratic Party speak to the rural Black person and the urban Black person? Because we have two different sets of interests.
Well, I think first of all, the party needs to show up and continue to show up. I think the party would need to establish some type of home base or outreach center in these rural areas to operate not just around election time, but yearly. And secondly, I think the message to Black folks in the rural areas, like the message to Black folks in the urban areas where I am, it has to be an economic message. It has to be a message of, we finally want to make sure in this country there's a level playing field between Blacks, whites, and pretty much Black and brown people and white folks. And I think that that's what the message has to be. And so far, we've been able to make some strides. And I'm here in North Carolina. We finally got Medicaid expansion, which has helped bring a lot of folks on the rolls for access to healthcare. This was big in our rural areas, especially for our Black and brown communities out there. And also, I mean, there will probably be, and we shouldn't be shocked, there may be some parts of our community in these rural areas that may agree to a certain point to what Mark Robinson is saying because of their faith, but will not agree with the overarching rhetoric that he's saying as well. And so we have to also take that into consideration. But again, I think the party has to do that, and which they are starting to do it. And you will see, with the leadership of Jamie Harrison, whom I know well, up at the DNC. He's from rural South Carolina. And so the DNC gets it. Here in North Carolina, our state chair is from rural North Carolina. And so, the party definitely understands that and will get out there to push to get these folks to the polls, and not only get them to the polls, but really present them with a platform, a message that they can grab hold to. That's key. That's key.
That's going to be key. Lori Parks, you said, when the last time Tim Scott, Byron Donalds calling Dr. Hud Ben Carson made any visits to any HBCU colleges, let alone have made any appearances in the Black communities, especially in their own state? Yeah, I mean, that might be the case. It's a good point. But at the same time, we're in a different political environment. Lori, I know you understand this, that people aren't looking at the details, and they're not looking at those smaller details. They're looking at what they see on YouTube. They're hearing the rhetoric. They're looking at the big picture, right? Like, these guys are Black men in a party, and they're showing some level of power and influence. Like, these guys, they got the ear of a Donald Trump. These guys are pushing the conversation forward on certain issues. And I think that's what that's what a lot of people are seeing. Now, to another point, Benny Hill, you asked this question. What was the question? Republican or conservative? What's going on here? This is why we're confused. Conflating the two for Blacks is hazardous, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, we don't have enough time to go into the details of that, but I do want to kind of get your take on that too, Brother Douglas. Like, you have a conservatism, but I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard of a conservative on the Democratic side.
So we have what we call moderate to conservative Democrats on our side.
Okay.
So take case in point, look at National. You look at I know he's not popular. You look at like a Joe Manchin. He would be considered like a moderate Democrat. You have others, even here in North Carolina, we have moderate and liberal Democrat conservative. But to answer your question that your listener just talked about, each party, like when we say that you are conservative and a Republican, they're both the same thing. It's just that conservatives consider themselves a little bit more deeper aligned with their ideology. And the same thing with like Dems, right? You have Democrats and you have progressives that are going to be more on the liberal side of the party.
Right.
But again, going back to what you said about these brothers right here, given that they have a strong leadership in the party, they are trying to make the case as to why conservatism works for Black folks, but we really haven't seen that before, right? Because again, you can't say that your plan is going to help Black people, but your party and your nominee, their policies is against, the stuff that we worked hard for.
Absolutely.
And I think that us as a people have to ask candidates, do you believe in a Black economic agenda? Do you believe that we should still continue the stuff that we fought for so hard? Because when the other message that you got, they said, what do we have to lose? And think about it.
Yeah,
they've struck down affirmative action. Let me tell you why that's bad. I know we were going up on time. Is that it's not just the universities. It is companies, and it's also RFPs. Like now, when I had to apply for an RFP, they ask you, do you have Black women in your organization? Are you minority led? Now they don't have to ask that anymore. So now we're at risk of being shut out more economically than we've been 50 years ago. So that's what we have to lose. It doesn't look like it's going to happen now, but before you know it, it just starts chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And we got to be careful about that.
Oh, absolutely. Brother Douglas, I know that our time is short, but I got to bring you back, man, because, as this thing kind of moves forward, looking at how this is all playing out and how this is going to impact voters, Black voters going to the polls in November, we got to have some more conversations about more important, like what's at stake. But Black conservatism is trying to get a stronghold, and it's going to be interesting to see how it moves forward. Brother Douglas, thank you so much. Douglas Wilson, who is the CEO of the Alexander Wilson political consulting firm down in North Carolina. Thank you so much, brother, for being with us today.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about what Senator Bernie Sanders was doing today as he was pushing for a bill that would call for a 4-day work week, 32-hour work, 4-day, 32-hour work week. Is this something that you think is good for the American worker? Guess what? I do. We're going to be checking in with Coach Trinette Collier to give us her take on this. And she talks a little bit about the mental health as well as the family costs of working 5 and 6 days a week. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Let's talk first and foremost. If you're just tuning in, we had a dynamic first half of the show. Fantastic first half, which we talked a little bit about the classified documents case that former President Trump has to deal with. And then we talked about our Black Conservatives for Black People with Douglas Wilson. And great conversation. We will continue the conversation on the other side, at some point down the road. But good starter conversation around this idea of Black conservatism that we should delve deeper into. Now, and I encourage you, let me go back to this point. I will encourage you to make sure that y'all do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network. And throw something in the bucket for us, because your support means a world of difference to us as we're looking for investors and stakeholders in this movement, in this process, in this platform. So again, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Big shout out to John Cannon, another great supporter of Black Star Network. Welcome to the Bring the Funk fan club at a level 1, John. Thank you so much. Let's give John a warm round of applause for his support of us here at Black Star Network. Thank you so much, John. We truly, truly appreciate that. That's the type of stuff that we need. Thank you, John. All right, folks, let's switch gears a little bit as we talk about from conservatism to talking about the work week. Now, this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because I feel like America is so far behind on other countries that are a little bit ahead on this area, and that is a 4-day work week. Now, Senator Bernie Sanders held a hearing today where he talked about he had introduced a bill called 32-Hour Work Week Act. Let me just say that again, the 32-Hour Work Week Act. And this is a bill that will call for a 4-day, 32-hour work week. Let me just share with you the details of this bill. Take a look at this here, folks. This bill would reduce the standard work week, and I'm looking at the second part of the second paragraph. This bill would reduce the standard work week from 40 to 32 hours over the span of 4 years, and including lowering the maximum hours required for overtime compensation for non-exempt employees. It would also require overtime pay at time and at time and a half for work days that last more than 8 hours, and overtime pay that would pay workers double their regular pay if their workday is longer than 12 hours. So this is a very interesting situation. Now, according to the press release on the bill, it described it as a, quote, important step toward ensuring workers' share in increasing productivity and economic growth driven by technological advancement. So I want us to talk a little bit about this, and I'm checking in with my sister, Coach Trinette Collier, who is and there she is, my sister, Coach, who is a life coach, a relationship specialist, to talk to us about this idea. And Coach, welcome back to the show. Always happy to have you here on Thursdays. What do you make of this? As Bernie Sanders is pushing to establish a 4-day work week, this changes how America sees work. But check this out, Coach. There has been so much conversation about this. I've been keeping up on this for the past, I would say, at least 3 to 4 years. About keeping the work week in a place of 4 days, 32 hours. Now, again, you're not losing out on pay. Right. For the capitalists out there, they're like, oh, if we do that, we cut down on pay. But listen to what Bernie Sanders said. He said, moving to a 32-hour work week with no loss of pay is not a radical idea. He said, today, American workers are over 400% more productive than they were in the 1940s, and yet millions of Americans are working longer hours for lower wages than they were a decade ago. That has got to change. Coach, what's your take on that?
I'm for it. I am for it. We had the opportunity as educators during the pandemic. They allowed us to do asynchronous day, which was on Wednesdays. We could basically, it wasn't a day off, but it was like a day of no class. The students had to, they had additional work from their the websites or whatnot, but it gave us a breather, right? So in turn, we really had a 4-day work week, and it made a world of difference because we were able to breathe on that Wednesday. That Wednesday, we took care of parent-teacher conferences, caught up on, some paperwork or whatnot, and we, even as educators, we've been talking about having 4-day weekdays, at least let us do Monday through Thursday and have the weekend off or whatnot. I'm for it because when you look back at families are suffering because people are overworked. The parents are overworked. The students are overworked in school. Everybody is tired, right? And we don't have a break. And before it used to be like, oh, you wait till the weekend to get caught up on things. I don't know about y'all, but the weekend is like a blink of an eye, and a blink of an eye, and you
blink of an eye. Shit, that's like you batting up. What they say, you're batting an eyelash. Like it is so quick. You'd be like, oh, it's Friday, and the next thing you know, you did like this, and this Sunday night. What the?
Yeah, and believe it or not, Sunday night causes anxiety for a lot of people who are
Sunday scaries.
Yeah, and I
that's real.
In that. And at first I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm just thinking it's all in my head, right? But as time went on, it was like come Sunday night, I literally was dealing with anxiety because I had this. It was like going into work, it had nothing to do with the students or whatnot. But it was just the fact of going into work because I wasn't rested. Like you said, Friday comes, you're like, literally most of people don't get off until like what? Close business
5, 6,
5 o'clock. Yeah.
6 o'clock.
When you get done dealing with traffic, picking up your children, or trying to figure out what's going to be for dinner or whatnot, it is midnight early Saturday morning.
Hey, Coach, I want you to just hold that thought because we got to take another quick pause. But you're right. You're absolutely right. And I know some folks are already, people in the chat are like, some people are saying we need to work more hours. See, not me. It's like, nah. I mean, look, because I'm going to say this and some of y'all going to be mad at me. Wait, if you don't have children that you're taking care of, you would not be advocating this.
I don't have children.
Like, if you have children, you be like, man, please.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm serious. We spend more time, and y'all check this out. This is the craziness. You know what? We're gonna talk about this on the other side. Look, stay with us. The conversation is heating up as we talk about Senator Bernie Sanders' bill to establish a 4-day, 32-hour work week. Is this something that America could truly embrace? Is a 4-day work week, is this good for us? I want you to join us in the conversation. Post your comments in the chat on YouTube, on Facebook, and stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by Coach Trinette Collier, the inspirationalist, as we talk about Senator Bernie Sanders pushing a bill to establish a 4-day work week, folks. It's called the 32-Hour Work Week Act, and it would reduce the standard work week from 40 to 32 hours over the span of 4 years, but it would not cause any loss of pay. And as Senator Sanders said, this is not a new or radical idea as we talk about the toll that is on the shoulders of the American worker. And we find that there is more stress. And Senator Sanders said this, Coach, that we're working way more than we have worked over the past, 60, 70 years. Yeah. The problem is that we're working longer hours, we're getting paid less. And as a result, it's creating all types of problems. So one of the problems, of course, is stress. Stress is a high, when you are trying to get, to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with that. The second thing is, along with stress, cost of living. Yeah. So as much as you work, and y'all think about this, because I know a few of you are probably out there like, we need to, this doesn't make sense, or this.
Yeah.
The cost of living in America, and we've talked about it plenty on this show. And most Black folks live in major urban areas, urban cities, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Atlanta, Houston. Like, we live either in the city or on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves can't keep up.
You can't.
You can't keep up.
No.
You see what I'm saying? And it's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
because if you have worked a job for 20, 25 years, and you're expecting to get some level of return on your time and investment into that space, and you still got to get off of your main job to go to your side job to make ends meet. Come on, talk to me. All right, Coach, what's your take on this?
It's so scary. Like, as a former educator, I watched a lot of my colleagues and still watch them. They have part-time jobs. Why?
As an
educator, salary, because it's not enough. And then you're talking about you're overworked as it is, right? And, as I was stating before, when during the pandemic, when we were blessed to have the asynchronous day, it gave us a lot of relief because we could focus on a little bit, we had more time to focus on our families, our personal lives. Because a lot of families are dealing with this. People don't really realize that. Again, I don't have children, so I can imagine like getting home, picking up your children, getting home, trying to, prepare dinner or whatnot. If you don't have a balance, and most of us are, struggling, trying to create a balance that's going to work for our families, you are stressed out, you have your parents, you may have your one parent that's working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to, make the ends meet. Or you may have both parents working 2 jobs. So where are the kids? Where are the children? And then you're not even thinking about childcare, right? So it's so many factors that's involved with the work week. And I don't think sometimes we forget about that. Like, we really need a break. And if you're like me, I've been working since I was 19, right? So I'm tired. I'm good with
I've been working since I was 15 and a half.
See?
I started working at 15, working in a restaurant as a busboy.
Yeah. So
in a restaurant, yeah.
So
I'm tired.
Yeah, right. You're tired.
I am tired, bro.
my dad used to say all the time, I was so anxious to get a job at 15 and 16. Like some of my classmates, high school classmates, had after school jobs, right? And I remember my dad, he said, "You're going to be working for the rest of your life if you don't get it together," right? And then it didn't hit me. He was like, "You got plenty of time to work." And I'm like, "But I want a part-time job." Now I get what he was saying. It's
No,
like,
I get it. I get it. I
you
get it.
be working. And so I really didn't think that working would give me a burnout. But when I took that leave that first year, and my body, my mind, my mental, oh my goodness, it didn't know how to act. I didn't know that had been on this cycle, of 40 work, and with educators, it's more than 40 hours a week, right? And
Oh, of course.
working, and we don't have the summers off. you know we don't have the weekends like that. You're working. So when you get to when a bill like this is proposed, I'm for it.
I'm for it, but here's the problem. I think that people can't see that this will fundamentally start to shift the system, right? Like
Yeah.
the system of capitalism, the system of how Americans work. Like it'll start to shift. And I think some people are afraid of that. I think some people are thinking like, oh well, if we do this, then how are we gonna pay for this? Let me just tell y'all something, man. We create the systems,
Mm-hmm.
not the systems creating us. Work has gotten to the point where it has become the identity, not a part of our identity, right? So
Yeah.
when somebody asks you a simple question, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, I work, blah, 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 blah. Like we associate, that's how deeply ingrained work has become as a part of our culture, that we define ourselves based upon the position or the roles that we play in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm this. I'm that. Okay, but who are you? So we got to think about that because this will start to, and I think this is what we saw during the pandemic, that people started to rethink life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is this really worth it? Like to go to work, and some of us, let's keep it real. Like some of us are working under such stressful conditions, i.e., terrible management, toxic environments, poor policies in these jobs in terms of pay and all of the human resources issues.
Yeah.
And so we started to rethink work. There's an opportunity now that we can redefine how we go to work in this country that can not just benefit us, but I think can benefit the next generation. Because what do you tell your 17, 18-year-old right now? Okay, son, okay, daughter, go into fast food. All right, go work for Target, go work for this person or that person, or this company, right?
Yeah.
And then guess what? For the next 45 to 50 years of your life,
you gonna be
this is your identity.
Yeah, my niece told me, she's 23, and we were sitting down. This was during the pandemic, well, right after, and she said, "Aunt Sean," she said, "you work hard," and her and my other nieces, they were like, "We appreciate you, for wanting to do for us and whatnot, but you work hard, and we watch you work." And so I just told her, I said, "Don't be like me. Don't work hard like me. I want y'all to enjoy life." And so I had to rethink that because I don't want them just to see me working. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so I had to rethink some things on my end because I want the next generation to understand and to see that you can have a work-life balance, that you can work and still have fun and still meet your needs. We have to create that balance. We have to understand what the differences between our needs and our wants. We have to live, you're going to make your money and you're going to live within your means. So I don't want them to overwork themselves like I did. Now, granted, a lot of times I worked because I wanted to, because I had goals, right? But it still didn't make any sense for me to overwork myself, be stressed out. And I'm not sure if people understand, but stress is like one of the number one killers, right?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
a silent killer. And a lot of times we're like, oh, we're fine. Job is not this, that, and that is not bothering. but it's the truth. Your job. My doctor had to tell me to remove myself from my job because it was so stressful, right? Because I'm overworking, I'm overthinking, I'm bringing it home into my space, which a lot of us are doing. We're bringing the work home into our sacred space.
That's right. That's true.
So where is the balance? Where do you cut off work? Because as you said, it's ingrained in us. We gotta work, we gotta work, we gotta work.
And that's a big part of this. We got to take another quick pause. But Corinna, my sister Corinna Denise, you said, Corinna, does Bernie have the votes to support his bill? He may in the Senate, but definitely not in the House, which is why I think that, and I mean, I think you're on to something, Corinna, which is why I think we should have the conversation and even mentioning this to our elected representatives. Hey, look, can you really consider this bill, right? Because let me just say this very quickly. I am so sick and tired of my life becoming a commodity for a system, right, that doesn't give me a return on the investment of my time. I'm going to say this once again. I am sick and tired of my life being a commodity in a system that doesn't give me a return of investment that I use of my time. Where's the return on my investment other than to say, oh, okay, you get a little paycheck at the end of the week or at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of the month, you get a paycheck. Like, what's the real investment? What is the cost of having of being stress-free? Having more time for yourself, having more time for your family. Because here's the thing, very quickly, we tend to believe in our current culture, Coach, that because you rested, that there's something wrong with you, or that you're weak, or you're not hungry enough, or you don't want the bag.
It's like,
we're gonna talk about that. We gotta talk about that, right? Like, that's a cultural thing. Like, oh, so sleep is the cousin. Sleep, man. I'm team no sleep. I don't sleep. That's crazy.
That ain't me.
That's crazy to me. That is absolutely insane. You know what I'm saying? That is insane. Look, we gotta take a quick pause. When we come back, let's continue to talk about Bernie Sanders' bill. It is a 4-day work week. I want to ask this question, crew, and I want to get your take on this. And this is the question that we have. Is it time for a 4-day work week? Do you think it is time for a 4-day work week in America? Folks, join me in the conversation. Post your thoughts in the chat on YouTube, Facebook. We love to hear what you have to say. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister coach, Trinette Collier, the inspirationalist. Before we go further in the conversation, Coach, how can people find you on social media? Talk to us.
All social media platforms, I am Trinette L. Collier.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. And you can find me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, at Farajii on the X platform, and at Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. And I'm not like Trinette, where I got one more name across all platforms. I had to switch it up, diversify the portfolio.
Look, it was easier for me to remember.
And that's cool. And that makes more sense than what I did, but it's neither here nor there. Folks, we've been talking about, is it time for America to have a 4-day work week? That's what Senator Bernie Sanders has proposed a bill that will call for us to work 4 days a week, 32 hours a week, and still get paid the same amount that we get paid as if we were working 5 days a week. And so we're asking this question and want to hear directly from you. Post your comments, share your thoughts as we're streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook and YouTube channel. All right, let me go to what some of the crew members are saying on this. Tiz checked in. Tiz, good to connect with you. Tiz says, I am definitely looking at retiring out of this country. Tiz, I got you. Tiz is here in LA with me. Tiz like, I ain't gone. I hear you. Listen. Richard Smith, you said, I'm 71. It isn't going to get any better. Believe me, I'm waiting on the Lord. Damn.
Listen.
Brother Richard, damn. he said, at this point, man, I'm just waiting for Jesus to come. That's all I'm doing. I hear that. Janelle Fields. Janelle said, Bernie is the most performative dude in Congress. We have owners of industries upset because people figured out ways to be productive outside of the office. They won't go for this 4-day work week for us. Look, let me tell y'all something, y'all.
Do you think it really would get pushed back?
It would get some pushback, but guess what? I believe in people power, Coach.
Me too.
I truly believe in people power. I don't believe that a system, like we create systems, right? Yeah. We as individuals, as people, we don't have to. Who said that we have to stay at one place for eternity, till infinity?
Right.
We can switch it up. Why are we acting like no, the system won't allow us to switch it up? We made the system.
Right. What would be a con to work in 4 days? Like if you're thinking about your health, like what would be a con? I don't see any. I see nothing but pros for it because I'm looking at the bigger picture too. Is my health? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to sacrifice my health for over the stress of working. So what would be the pushback on
That's a good question. That's a good question because everybody in the chat is saying, look, the 4 days, I'll take it. Now, if you're getting paid 4 days, if you're still getting paid as if you were working 5 days, but you're only working 4 days and 32, we got to keep this in mind too, Coach.
Yeah.
That some folks are even saying, well, and I forgot who said this in the chat, but they're saying, well, what about the corporations? They're not going to like that. Corporations are not people.
They're not.
Those are business entities that are ran and operated by people. Again, these are systems created by people that can be changed to adapt to people. So corporations don't have no personality. They have no say in it. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
So if we switch to a 4-day work week, then our systems and all of that that's attached to this work, this new work model would have to change.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we switched and the system is going to be like, oh, no, we're not going to allow you to switch. No, if we switch, it will create like a domino effect. That means that the work schedule's going to have to change, right?
Yeah.
That means that again, there wouldn't be a loss in pay because it's still the same pay.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? Shouldn't this, and I'm with you on this, Coach. We're advocating for more time because that's the only thing you can get that you don't get back.
You don't
right?
get it back. Oh my gosh, you don't get it back. I don't think people
like you could. But look, and maybe some of y'all could be mad at me for this, but I'm growing and understanding that I don't care how much money you pay me. Money comes and goes, but if I don't have time, like if you miss out time, and for all of those who are watching, imagine those moments, those times when you missed big moments in your children's lives because you were working. Games, recitals, first steps, first talk, all of those big moments in your children's lives because you were working. You can't get that back. Yeah, you got paid, but you lost out. You gained financially, but you lost in that relationship.
Yeah.
And we sacrifice a lot we will sacrifice more for the work schedule than we do for the personal and family time. Talk to me, Coach.
Yeah, I agree. Like, as I was saying before, like, I know one of the crew members was saying that I was asking what would be the con. It's the loss. They were saying the loss of productivity. I remember with us, our productivity, and it could be for each field is different, but our productivity went up because we were rested. We had that extra day to rest and so forth. So it for us in that field, we saw a big difference and whatnot. So I guess it depends on the industry or whatnot, but I don't see how we could oppose it. And especially if you're going to get paid, continue the same pay. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I just know that I see the other side of the stress and the health and all of that.
Right. Absolutely. Tony Stelly. Tony, welcome to the chat. You said you're asking for the same pay while putting in fewer hours. The corporations will push back on that because of lost production and profits. Tony, my sentiment is not to you for you bringing this up. This is my sentiment to those corporations. Cry me a river. Let me just tell you why. This is what Bernie Sanders said, y'all. This is what Bernie Sanders said about this. Because we're thinking about corporations, and I understand because we're living in this type of society. He said, the financial gains from the major advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, automation, and new technology must benefit the working class not just corporate CEOs and wealthy stockholders on Wall Street. It is time to reduce the stress level in our country and allow Americans to enjoy a better quality of life. It is time for a 32-hour work week with no loss in pay. I look forward to the discussion. He also said that you have CEOs. He says time that working families, not just CEOs and wealthy shareholders, are able to benefit from increased productivity so that they can enjoy more leisure time, family time, education, and cultural opportunities and less stress. Do you know that CEOs are getting paid hand over fist more than the workers that they employ? Whereas workers are calling for minute raises in some industries, right? CEOs get 100% plus in their revenue stream. So as they're talking about cutting back on, they lay off people and all of those things, CEO pay is going through the roof. This is happening in all the industries in this country, regardless. CEOs are getting paid crazy money while the American workers we just toiling on. We just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make ends meet?
And they get to take vacations. They get to take their vacations.
And absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we got to take another quick pause. Stay with us, folks. We still got a lot to chat about in the final few moments of the culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Coach Trinette L. Collier, the inspirationalist, life coach, relationship specialist. We talk about is a time for a 4-day work week. And this is very interesting conversation. I didn't think that the conversation would go the way it has been going, right? But there's a lot of interest in this idea that Senator Bernie Sanders is putting out there to the American people, to Wall Street, to the whole country, saying that, look, it is time for us to have a 4-day, 32-hour work week that will benefit the American worker, that will benefit the people and give folks their time back. Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're essentially talking about time. And there's that economics of the financial economics, but then there's the other economics, which is our attention economy, right? Which is how much attention do you want to give to the thing that is designed to just provide you a quality of life, right? And we have to ask ourselves, and I think this is why this conversation is important. We have to ask ourselves, do we still want to be defined by the work that we do, or do we want to be defined by the person that we are?
Yeah.
And when you're in a system that is all about productions and profits and all of those things, it's hard to figure out who you are in the midst of all of that. It's hard to think about your personal dreams, your goals. It's hard to think about your time.
Yeah, and you don't get that time back. You
don't get that time back.
And
you don't get that time back.
15, 20 years, and you do identify with your job. You identify of having that work family, or and you're now splitting your family, your personal family, with your work family. You're splitting your life with your work family. And so and you can create wonderful work relationships and so forth. But when you think about the time that you invest in it, and you stated earlier, the return is not great at all. In my opinion, it's not great, unless you set yourself up with a good retirement package financially. It's not a great outcome, for far as I have watched people that retired before me and so forth. I know a lot of retirees that are back in the workforce, because they simply had to, so this is also a concern. So now you got over that 15, 25 year hump. Now you're back at it again. And so something has to give. Like I just feel like something has to take, a change has to be made. And again, a lot of people are dying because of stress, work related stress. And we don't want, we keep tiptoeing around it because it's like, when we get back to work, when you can only get sick because you have a few sick days left and you want to try to save them, or, you have to go to the doctor, when all of these factors take place. And you just start to rethink your life when you are overworked and overstressed. So again, the people that are opposed to it, I don't see that bigger picture, but I just see the health side and the time side of this act, the benefits of it. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, I think that, and I see my sister Corinna bringing up some good points in terms of, what you say, how you say this, Corinna. I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. In terms of, if we don't put the right people in office, and I'm just paraphrasing how Corinna said this because I'm looking for her comment. But if we don't put the right people in office, this conversation is a mute discussion, because it has to pass, which I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think the benefit of this particular conversation, and I think the benefit of what Senator Bernie Sanders is doing, is that it starts to put a seed in the minds of the American people to say that we do not have to, that there is a different reality that we can all live.
Yeah.
That it is possible, right? Yeah. And official Tanika, I think you bring this point up, and I like what you said on this. Transformative thinking requires risk Some are really not interested in that, shaking my damn head. Transformative thinking, reimagining what we see, how we're living this life is important, right? But I think it first starts, before we even get into the political space, it starts with the American people. It starts with folks in this country reimagining, saying, you know what? Even though Henry Ford, and I'm looking at you, Brother Damon, you bringing up this point that Henry Ford, he's the one that advocated for the 5-day work week when you look at the history, and trying to get more factory workers because he wanted to get more production and all of those things. But if you think that it's say, well, let's reimagine a life where we can do more with our time.
Yeah.
And it starts from the American people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you are so involved in a system, you lose track of your time, you lose track of yourself, you lose track of your interests. You're just so like locked into the system that it's hard to take a step back and say, wait a minute, you mean that I can still do, I can still provide for myself and my family with more time and in a different way? That's transformative thinking.
Yeah.
That's a reimagining of this, right? Then we take it, I think we take it to the political space, because now we have to advocate for that. We have to call our representatives. We have to say, look, Senator Bernie Sanders is saying this. Can we do this on a state level?
Yeah.
It may not happen on a federal level, but can we do this on a state level?
Yeah. I wonder how many companies are already doing the 4-day work week. I wonder if there are some companies that are just doing it on their own because they see the value of it. Yeah.
They are. And guess what? The crazy part is, and this is something I've been reading as I've been looking at this conversation. There are companies in Europe and other parts of this world. There are countries that are already on this.
Yeah.
Sweden, Finland, some of these countries, and people they found that the happiness metric is higher, the stress level is lower. Their country, and if people would make us believe that Americans is lazy because we are saying, hey, we want an extra day.
Yeah. It blows my mind that we think about that. Like, that's how we're programmed to think. If we rest, that there's something wrong with us. Like I'm like you. I despise the saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I don't want to do that. I want to enjoy life. I want to be able to rest, And so it blows my mind when people think that because you're resting, you're lazy. And that's something I had to deal with personally when, I didn't know how to rest. I didn't know how to stop and smell the roses because I was so used to just, I got to do it. So when you're able to sit back and really look around and you think about the time that you've missed out, you think about the things that you can do with that extra moment, you will look at things differently, and again, to each his own. But I just know for me, the 4-day work week would be superb.
I mean, it would be superb. It would change, which I think it will change the conversations that we have about work, labor. I think it will change the conversation we have about relationships and economics. Exactly. I think you're right on there, right? Davey Floater, Davey, Davey talked about this idea, and I didn't think about this. So Davey, I appreciate you for bringing this up, talking about corporate personhood or jurisdictional personality. And this is a legal notion that a jurisdictional person, such as a corporation, separately from its associated human beings like owners, managers, or employees, has at least some of the legal rights and responsibilities enjoyed by natural persons. Now, that means that corporations can be seen by the court system. This is within the 14th Amendment. So, Davey, thank you for bringing this up. 14th Amendment shows that corporations can be seen as persons within the court, within the meaning of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And that gives some sense of personage to business entities, which is a very interesting thing
Yeah.
that we may have to, and that we certainly don't have time to talk about it today, but in terms of how corporations will respond, how corporations would adapt to this new model of work, that's when that part of the conversation comes in, that the courts would look at corporations as a person.
Yeah.
Which is strange to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very strange to me.
Yeah.
But Davey, I appreciate you saying it. So as we're having these conversations about, the personal value and benefits of a 4-day work week, then you do have to look at, okay, so how will corporations look into this?
Yeah.
How will they respond to this? But again, I'm going back to my initial thought here, Coach. People power.
Yeah.
We create the systems, and I'm saying we as the voters, as people, constituents, as taxpayers, as those, we create the systems that we're currently living in. I know that as Black folks, we have been enslaved and we went through that whole situation. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in 2024, when you vote or don't vote, when you pay your taxes, when you decide to anything to uphold this system, that means that we also have the right to change the system for the better.
Exactly. Yeah, we do. We do.
So that's part of it. And I think, Coach, I'm gonna give you the final word as we wrap up here. How do we keep this thing going? How do we have this conversation in a way that a lot of people can truly embrace it and say, you know what? I can reimagine a different work relationship, a different work environment. I can reimagine a different way to use my time. What's your take on that?
I think we just keep the conversation going and we look at the benefits and we think about our own lives. How is it affecting our own lives? And so the conversation just has to continue on your platform, on all major platforms and so forth. Just continuing the conversation and looking at the benefits, of having this put in place for us. Because again, we don't get that time back. So I just see the benefits of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to see it. I'm going to keep my eyes on this, Coach. I know we didn't get to our other topic today of trying to get, should friends know so much about your love life? So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. We'll get back around to it. But once again, Coach, I always appreciate you, sister, for all of your insight and your analysis. How can people find you on social media?
Thank you again. All social media platforms. I am Trinette L. Collier.
And that's across the board, folks. I am Trinette L. Collier. Unlike my social media, where you got to try to figure out what the hell I was thinking when I say, I'm the real Farajii on IG or at Farajii. Just go to my IG page. There you go. The real Farajii, right? Instagram. Coach, I appreciate you, sis. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So have a great one. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much. Big shout out to the crew. Thank y'all so much for checking in and being a part of the conversation. A big one. A lot of good stuff. Big shout out to Mr. and Brother Douglas Wilson of Alexander Wilson Consulting for that conversation about Black conservatism. And we're going to continue that as we move further along, especially during this campaign year. So we still got a lot of ground to cover, but that was definitely a good starting conversation about that issue. Make sure y'all go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free, Black Star Network on all of your devices. Follow us on social media. So as you follow me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, you follow Black Star Network, you follow Roland Martin, and we love to get your support there. And we ask that you put something in the bucket for us today if you enjoyed the conversation and just enjoy what we bring to the discussion here on Black Star Network. It truly, truly matters, and it means the world to us. So for those who have already donated, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered RMU at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will be back tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.